Good. Hello, how's everybody? I hope everybody's doing good. So I have my paper, my pencil, and I actually have more than one pencil. So if you could grab a hold of more than one pencil, um, that's good because I always emphasize you save time sharpening, right? You have more pencils sharpened. And eraser, make sure your pencil have an eraser. So today drawing, we done it last week if you were in person with me, but I wanted to make a video out of it because that way it could last longer, right? And you could access it anytime you want, pause it, rewind, all these things. And it's like a seasonal drawing. What we're gonna do, okay? So we're gonna do something at night, um, a little not scary, but just a night drawing. We're in October, and I also wanted to show you this technique, which is something I used to do a lot as a child. And it creates kind of like atmosphere um, when you draw. Okay, we're gonna use the pencil and the eraser of the pencil as a drawing tool. This paper here is a 9 by 6. It's half of a sheet, like a long sheet of 9 by 12. So now it becomes 9 by 6 when you cut it in half. And the drawing we did in the past that was similar to this was on the entire sheet. Um, and I did that um, because I wanted, you'll see when we do the drawing, you need to um, shade the entire paper. And I wanted to make sure everybody have room and space to do the things we're going to do. So this time we're going to challenge ourselves. We're going to do the same thing, smaller. There's many things happening in the drawing. So make sure you are pay attention and, concentrate in some of the details at the end because the paper, right, is smaller. We have an hour also. When I see you in person, we have 2 hours. So that gives us more time to actually feel the paper. So just always be aware of your surface. What are you working on? You know, obviously, it takes longer if you're going to paint a wall than a piece of paper. So the surface and materials are very important to consider. So let's get started. You got your materials. Make sure you got your materials. And with the side of your pencil, right, not the point like this when we write, but the side. I'm gonna start shading um, the paper. My paper is gonna have a little texture. Okay, it's still a fine paper, but it probably has more texture than the paper we use at the center. That's why you see these little bumps coming out. But make sure you give it a good gray, dark tone. Okay, not too soft. Kind of make sure you get some darkness in there. But you see how I use the side of the pencil to shade this whole area? Just leave a little bit of space at the bottom that is not shaded. Or you know what? Let's shade the whole entire thing. And turn your pencil as you do this because it's getting worn out. And try to make the tone you're creating the same tone. So if some part is darker, then you're gonna have to darken the entire paper. But I'm gonna do the entire paper this time. And if you have another pencil, like I said, and you want to swish, but you're not actually losing the point of your pencil. What you're losing is the side surface. That's why we need to turn the pencil. Turn meaning turn it. See my hand turns as I do it. That way I get the surface of the pencil that I want. So fill the whole paper with shading. This is how you shade too, you know, when you grade things in drawing. Our hands are gonna get dirty because this graphite gets everywhere. But now we have a paper that is completely gray. You see? So if you need to pause the video to continue doing this because I did it too fast, please do. But you should be left with a paper entirely covered like this. Okay? Okay. By the way, it's very bright, um, my light. So this is even darker than what it looks like on the video, more likely. So I'm happy. It's pretty even. You know, there's some spots like you can tell maybe here. You see it's a little darker right here, but it's okay. And always remember, I have another sheet of paper uh, to doodle or practice what I'm going to draw on the main piece here. So finish that. This creates the darkness, and now we're going to use this surface to draw. So now you're going to look, pause it like I said if you're still working on it, because I'm going to start, right? And then play it because we're going to go to the next step. So finish filling the paper with the shading like this. Then now, think of half of the paper, right? Half of the paper is around here. Bring another half, so half at the bottom here. So if this line, imaginary line, goes like across here, see when my pencil is drawing a line, this is maybe like half of the paper. Then I'm going to take half of the lower part, which will be like about here. And I'm going to draw a very light line there to mark what I'm going to work on. You guys see that darker line? See how I shade it but darker just to mark that. And now I'm going to do a little mountain hills. This I'm going to start with the mountains this time. Last time we started with the trail, but this time I'm going to start with some. So the mountains are going to be like this, look. Um, different sizes. You see? It's little bumps, kind of like triangles, but make sure they're different sizes and not going up like this, not too high. You see how I kept it low? So let's do one. Small one here. Another one. Another one. Maybe the same size, and a smaller one here. And now I'm gonna darken the mountain. I'm gonna make it even darker than the paper up to this line that we drew. Remember I made a line here marking hopefully half of the half. And what that makes us think is that these mountains, because they're darker, are farther away. At night, uh, obviously, we know it's night because there's not enough light. We don't have the sun, and it's dark. But then the things that are dark, really, really dark, are things that are not light up by anything, but also are far away. So if something is far away at night, more likely will be in the dark. Um, you know. So part of the darkness is the lack of light, but also the 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 dense the density basically is what I'm trying to say of the space. So if you go in a forest, there's no light, it's dense, sure, but you could also go into an area and look far away and you don't see anything because there's no light. So that's what happening to these mountains. Um, you see, let me lift the paper so you can see. This is better because the light. So what's happening? That's why I apologize about the light in this type of drawing. Sorry, is that graphite, especially in this drawing more than others in the past, graphite in the entire paper shines. You know, it's charcoal. So look how this side here to my right, um, when I set down the paper, it's gonna shine, and it's not gonna show you the proper how the drawing actually looks. You see that shyness? This side has, this one doesn't have. That's my light source here at the table. So if I hide it away, it may change. Or if I lift the paper, so I'll be lifting the paper to show you how the mountains actually end up being. You see how they're darker than the rest of the paper? And you don't have to emphasize the line too much. You see this line? You don't have to emphasize it because you're shading the whole mountain. And if I did not press too hard with this line, then it's not going to show. You see how the mountain looks soft and far away? Because I never really pressed down to make this line. Okay, so make sure you did the whole paper shaded. You did the mountains far away. So basically we did this line, which was half of the paper. So the lower half, if this is the half, right, where the pencil is, the lower part of the half, I put a line right half through, and I darken it, and above it I made some mountains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little peaks that were darkened. Okay. Next step, the the um, the path, the path. We're gonna do like a little path in the dark. So this is how we're gonna do the path. I'm gonna take the other piece of paper. Okay. By the way, with your other piece of paper, you're sketching here, right, in this side, but you could use the other side to put on, especially for those right-handed, on the right of the paper. When you're gonna draw, to avoid dirtying your hand right here, which is gonna happen anyway, right? To avoid having to rest your entire hand on top of the paper. You see on the drawing, you put a piece of paper. So that's, I always forget to do that. So it's a practice you don't have to do if you don't want to, you know. But if you, it's there if you remember, and otherwise, this is gonna smudge, and you could always fix it. But just be aware that it happens. So I'm gonna sketch here in this paper how the trail is gonna go. Okay. So it's very simple. It's a very stretched letter S. Look, I'm gonna do a letter S. Um, you see, I'm gonna do it again. So practice this letter S, and this is what's gonna happen. There's more to it. Okay. The top, the tip at the top. I'm gonna draw a line across this top. You see, because this line represents the horizon, and this is the trail. Now, so again, imagine this is the horizon, and from the horizon, I make a stretched letter S. You see? Now, there's another last thing to add to this. You're going to do another letter S right next to it to create the thickness of the path, right? There's when you walk on a trail, when you go hiking, um, you know it's a trail because it has a certain thickness different from the rest of the ground, right? Um, Usually they're not that big because it's only people, one set of foot walking. So, um, but to do this second line, we're going to start right at the same point on the top. But as we go down, we're going to widen that thickness. And that will make us believe that farther away it gets together and the closer to us gets widened, which is a little bit of perspective, right? So look at the same point, and as I'm going down, I'm going to make it bigger. You see, I did not go next to it because as I'm going, as I'm getting closer to me, this part is wider than here. And now it looks like you could walk, a person can actually walk through here, right, in the distance. Because the farther away, the closer together it gets. So again, a letter S. And when you start together, but then you make it bigger like that. All right. So we don't have too much space because that has to go down here, right? This is the sky. These are the mountains. So our trail will be here. Don't do it in the middle. Do it either to the left or to the right. I'm going to do it to the right. Um, I'm going to do it right here. So look, here's my letter S. Can you see it? That's one line. I'm going to do the second line. Starts in the same spot, but then it's going to widen up like this. It's this curve here actually, because this one up here is always fine. It's right this curve where people tend to continue closer to this, but you have to push it away and maybe look, keep it straight, almost like straight down. So now it looks like someone, right? And I'm going to erase the inside of this trail just a little, not too much, okay? Don't, let's be careful showing the whiteness of the paper. So I'm going to erase it, but then shade it again because I don't want it to be too bright. But I do want it to be different than the rest of the ground. You see how I erased it? But I'm going to now, after I erase it, I'm going to still make some lines in it to shade it a little, just a little, not too much, because then it'll be the same as the rest. And now we have a trail. Looks better, yeah. When I turn it this way to the left, it looks better. Okay, so we have a trail, mountain, sky. Now we're gonna make the sky, and you're gonna make a moon. So the moon is gonna be big. It's gonna be round, right? A whole circle. And you choose which side again, left or right. I'm gonna do the left because the trail is in my right, and I don't want to emphasize too much the right. So to balance, I have my trail here to the right. I'll put my moon to the left. So look how I start small, making a circle, erasing. You're gonna erase it, okay? So now the moon is gonna be white in the dark sky because you're erasing. Look, I'm gonna start small and I'm gonna make a circle and make it bigger, bigger every time until I get a moon a size where I'll be happy with. So I want it bigger. Make sure your moon is big enough, because that's what makes the drawing a little more Octobery, like with a full moon type of thing. So here, look. And I was very impressed with the drawings we did last week on this project. Very, very good sense of atmosphere. That's what this drawing is going to give us, atmosphere, you'll see, because the entire thing is great. So this is a big moon. And if you were worried about making a perfect circle, doesn't have to be perfect, but the fact that you build it from little to bigger, you can control the circumference, right? I'm going to shake my erasers, my erase leftover, and look how that looks. See, we have a moon that's clearly cut out of the, I mean, not cut out, but erased. Okay. We need to finish the entire sky before we do the trees. We're going to do some trees. Because those trees are going to be on over the sky, right? So that's why. And please remember also, whenever I ask to outline something, if I ask you to outline some things, we're just barely outlining them, meaning just partially. So if I were to outline this circle partially, it means I'm not gonna go and draw a line all around it. I'm not gonna do that. I maybe do like a little section here and section here, and that's it. You know, I'm not gonna go all around it. So if I ask to outline certain things, you could do that. Okay, so clouds. We just have to add some clouds. If you want to add birds or bats at night, because we don't usually see birds flying at night, you see maybe owls or bats. In this case, because it's October, right, we're gonna do bats or something like that. But that we could add at the end. But we need to do clouds now, and the clouds that we're gonna do, just to make it more interesting for this theme, are clouds that are going to be very long and horizontal. Okay, and the reason is because they're clouds like that, just like the mist on the ground. When you go out in the morning, so when you stay in the country and you see mist in the morning, it's covering the surface of the earth, so it has to be flat and horizontal, right? It cannot be like a big bulky thing. It's usually flat now, and that's why these clouds are going to be like that, because they look like, you know, mist. So horizontal, you could erase. We're going to use the erase again. And before you start doing yours, just watch how I do one of them. So look, I'm going to do it here. I'm going to erase. I'm going to make a line, a thick line that goes maybe up to here. And then maybe one bump and a little one here. And thin, make it thinner. The thickness, make it thinner. And that's it. So look how that, you see how I whiten that part of the drawing? Yeah, that's a good shot there. So I basically just erased. We're just erasing as a way of drawing. So let's do a few more again, but now we're gonna do them shorter. So some of them are gonna be shorter, some of them are gonna be longer, some of them are gonna be, so don't do them all the same. So now there's one here that is gonna probably come a little bit out of the moon up to here. That's it. I don't see how it looks in the moon because it's white and the moon is white. So we could draw this after later soon. I'm going to do a little tiny one here. Okay. And maybe one over here. And make sure that you go out into the edge of the paper. So, okay, don't be afraid this time. In this type of drawing to get out and touch the edge with the clouds, because that shows continuity. That shows that there was a cloud that's longer, but the paper cut it. So you see how I made one here, a little bit here, a little bit up here, and a little bit here. I'll show you in a moment how all of this looks. And that will be it, actually, because remember, we're not doing them too big. We're doing them flat, horizontal. So look how that looks. I'm going to move the paper. I took a little bit where I am. Yeah, so okay, I took a little bit here. I took a little bit down here. I took one here. This was the first, remember, this long one. I took a little bit here, here, and a little tip here. Okay, so now that we have that, we're gonna partially, very careful, not too much, partially outline some of these parts. Okay, so follow what I'm about to do. What I mean by partially, especially the bottom of it, the flatness. So I'm gonna draw a line here, maybe a little round top here. Is to give the cloud a little more body, but not emphasize it too much, because you want that erase effect. You see a little bump, one line. And you could do a few lines in the bottom. When you do the line at the bottom, you could do, and we could also look, yeah, I forgot about that. I'm gonna get in with the gray here, as if the sky is still going in here. And make sure, because as we drew, remember I told you your hand dirties the paper, as I did right here, so I need to erase again, because the gray, look, it keeps down here, you see, and it happened here. But you see how these lines are not all around the cloud, but in some parts? Okay, so let's finish this with that. And now I'm gonna go in. So this is what I mean by these lines. Look, they're not everywhere of the cloud. It was just here, 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 here. But I left this open. I left many parts open. But here in the moon, I do need to get in with the pencil. See that? And I'm gonna go in here. And make a little grayness around this area, just very soft. You don't have to emphasize it too much, just very soft. And that adds to the cloud that's there. Again, erase when you see that the whiteness of what you wanted white is gone. You have to go back and erase. Okay, does that works? You see how I darken this a little? This bottom inside the moon, just to make this cloud looks like it's on top of the moon. Here too, but I did it very gentle and soft. And the fact that I did not drew an outline everywhere around the cloud makes the whole effect soft. We want to be soft and gentle. That softness comes out of not outlining. So you are outlining a little bit, but not everywhere. And because you're not doing it everywhere, it works. Okay, so we have our mountains, our path, our moon, our clouds. Try to keep them the bottom straight. And the sky is done for now, okay? Because we need to get into our trees. And after the trees, I'm going to add something to the picture for you that's going to give it a little more interesting aspect. So I'll give you a minute to kind of look at your piece. It's always good to like step back, look at it, catch up, work on your clouds. Um, Before we do the trees, because I want to make sure if you need to pause again because you're not catching, I'm going too fast, sorry, because I'm going too fast doing the sky, do so. That's why it's on video format. Um, that way you can pause it and take your time. There's no rush. See the softness, especially in the mountains here. This softness here comes from darkening the paper without making a strong outline. Just there you go. Okay. Sharpen your pencils if you need to sharpen your pencils. We're going to use the side of the pencil again. Okay. Take the side of your pencil, ready for the trees. We're going to do, let's see, a good number, either 3 or 5. Okay, so you choose if you want 3 or 5 trees. I'm going to do about 5. So knowing this, I'm going to be very aware of the sizes of them, the trees. But here's the key. We're going to use the side of the pencil. Like what I mean by side of the pencil is like this. Instead of making a line like this when you write, taking the side of the pencil, you're going to make a thicker line when you do this. And that saves you having to build the body of the tree. You see how the line is a little thicker and darker? Now, the most important thing when you do these trees, okay, is the pressure you put to do this line. I want you to do each tree with a different tone, different pressure. So if this line I just did is a tree, look, I'm gonna make this line a tree. I gotta keep consistently that darkness. That's what I mean by tone. See how I made it into a tree? Now the next one, I'm gonna do it in a different tone, lighter. Same pencil. I'm just being softer when I press down. And I have a second tree, but it's lighter. So now there's 2 trees, but one is lighter than the other. This is lighter than this. Lighter, darker. Now, in the drawing, what's going to happen, because the entire drawing is gray, that grayness of the trees is going to be interpreted as the atmosphere in the space. So a darker tree will be closer, and a lighter tree will be farther away. So try to, when you do the trees, if you make a darker one, try to make it bigger, because that will mean it's closer to you, the viewer. And if you make a lighter tree, a little more smaller or farther away. So let's start. I'm going to start with a darker tree, maybe here on this side to the right of the trail, and I'm going to leave room here to the most right to another one, but over here will be a dark, big but not big enough that's going to take the whole paper, but it's going to be big than the others. So I start here, look, and I say dark, so I go up, I branch out, and think of the letter V. I branch out to one side, I branch out to the other side, and then I make branches like this by branching it out. You see that? So if there's a letter V here, if something comes out here, it comes out from it too. It comes here, comes here, comes here, here, here. You see how it keeps branching out? Here, 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 and different lengths. So I didn't stop at the same level. I made different lengths. And something very important I'm about to say is to remember that the trunk of the tree at the bottom of the tree always will be a little bit thicker than the rest, because that's where it touches the ground. So I'm going to bring this closer to you so you can see in focus. You see how simple that was? So if I make a branch going up, you see this big branch? If I make this branch and I open it here, then something opens out of this one, and something opens out of this one here. So out of the big branch, something open here, and out of this one, something open right here. You see, you keep branching it out, and maybe leave one single one. And this is what I mean about the bottom. So this is the trunk, and the bottom of the trunk down here gonna be thicker than up here. Watch. So now my tree looks a little more grounded to the ground, more grounded. So that's a dark tree, pretty big, for the space. Don't go too high into the drawing. We want to see the sky. Okay, but I press down my pencil dark enough to, to make it dark. Now I'm gonna make right next to it here a smaller one, lighter. Watch what I mean. Same effect, branching, branching. You could barely see it because it's lighter, but it's here, you'll see. Branch, 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 letter B. And they can cross over, don't try to not to touch. They should, if one tree is right next to it and behind it, yeah, the other one is on top over it. So it doesn't matter if one is over the other. Let them cross paths, the lines. Here, 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 here. You see that? Let me see. I don't want the light effect to be too emphasized, but there you go. I want to focus, please. Focus, paper, right there. Right there is on focus. So we have a tree that's dark. I'm pointing at it with my pencil, and we have a tree here that's lighter. Just because the tree is lighter, the gray, is a little farther away. Now, they almost line up down here. This is a good exercise here. You see how they almost line up? I need to put this gray one shorter. And what that does, it pushes him farther away. Right here is where he's going to start. Oop. Okay. So now he went back. The gray one, the lighter one, farther away, went back, because they're not lined. If they were into the, so think of it this way. Remember when we did the line that goes across in the horizon? as you keep making lines under it, that means they're in the same distance from excuse me, they're in the same distance from each other according to you. So if I were to put this tree next to this one but starting at the same base, then they're the same distance from me. But because this one is higher, you see, higher than this one, is farther away, farther down. Okay, let's do 3 more trees. um Maybe one here, a dark one that's gonna branch a little more out. I want to go over through the moon. See, because you're using the side of your pencil, you get a thicker line, and that saves you time building that branch. You know, the thickness of the branch. Another thing that that side of the pencil does in this type of drawing, it gives it a roughness. You know, because it's not even. It's not like a clear line, and makes it more interesting because it's just more. It's not scary, but interesting. See how if I branch here, I could branch here, 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 here. The trunk is thicker and it's thicker at the bottom. And because it's a dark tree, I'm going to bring it down all the way down here. And the other ones that are going to be lighter may be a little farther behind. But this is our second tree. Sorry, third tree. And I'm going to do 2 more. Maybe a very light one here and a medium light here. So this one here is going to be very light. You could barely see it, because what happens is you barely see it because the whole paper is gray. So if I'm making a gray tree out of graphite and the paper already has graphite, then look how light that is. You could barely, I know it's here, I'll show you in a moment, but it's very light. And I'm using less of the surface of my side pencil. Oops, that one too dark, because it's lighter. Okay, I know you see it, right? And one last one, medium darkness here, not as dark as this one. So I'm darkening this one. Uh, you see, I'm putting my hand on the drawing, and that's gonna smudge it if I put my hand right here. So I'm gonna use this paper. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna make this one like shorter too, like small, not too big. And you see how thin the lines are, but they're branching out. There you go. That was a beautiful one, that last one. Look, I'm gonna show it to you closer right here. See how simple these lines were? Basically, I end up doing this. Look, I end up doing one branch. I lift my pencil like that. 1, 2, 3. See that? So we have now 5 trees, different darkness. Very dark, medium, medium, medium. If you want to do an even small, lighter one, you could do a very light one here. You could barely see, but it's there. I don't know. I just wanted to do a very light one, but you can see it here. Anyway, you see the idea, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did 6. Um, yeah. Some of these big branches, the first ones, can be thicker, you know. Okay, we have a trail. You know the trail, you see the outline of the trail, you see the line. We could mask that by this darkness of the line, pushing it not inside the trail, outside. Look, I'm gonna camouflage this outline by pushing this darkness out and blending it in. Look, I'm making this dark, but pushing it up. And we're gonna put a little bit of shadow of the moon casting on the trees. Not too much detail, but it will be opposite to where the moon is. It is. So look, if the moon is here, right to our left, then the shadow is casted to the right on these ones here to the right. So look, I'm gonna make a line in the bottom, in the ground like this, for these two trees. I'm gonna make one here for this one. Now this one is not that far into the right, so it's almost down here. And this one is two here to the left. And this one is, but you see how I follow the moon? Okay. Does that make sense? That little shadow? Okay. It made a little effect. Okay. So one last thing, and in this we're going to use the side of our pencil again to make these lines. They're going to be raggedy and like not symmetrical. And rather than this side, you see how much space we have here in these trees? I'm pointing with my finger. This space is a little bigger than this space here to the right. So I'm going to leave this alone to the left, and I'm going to here work on something to finish to the right. So what we're going to do here is a half a fence where the sticks or the wood is all random. You'll see in a moment. But before I do the fence, I want you to look at your drawing at this stage and think of what I've been saying about atmosphere. You see, just because we grayed the entire paper, we shaded it, right? And everything is in tones of gray, the trees, the mountains, the floor, the the sky between the clouds. All that grayness of the graphite creates an atmosphere. So that's what I was talking about. This fence we're going to do right now is going to help us also see space, because the fence obviously will be before the mountains and the trees, but it's in front of us. So let's not touch the edge of the trail. Let's do a stick, maybe 3 or 4. Let's see how many we can do independently from the tree. So don't line them up with the tree. So line one here. Look, one. See that? Let me bring the camera closer so you can see. Hopefully it focuses. Yep, what I'm doing. So here's one. You see how in this one I didn't go all the way up to the mountain. So here's one. The second one down here, I don't want them line up or the same height. The third one maybe next to this one is okay. 3, 4 up here. And the fifth goes across the mountains even over here. Fifth. You see how there's 5 sticks. Maybe they're the same size, but I'm going to change their thickness. This one is thicker, thin, thin, thicker, thin. So different thickness. I was hoping for different heights, but it's okay. I don't want to change the height too much because I want them where they are. And now we're going to do three sticks that go across. You'll see what I mean by that. They're not going to be lined up, meaning symmetrical. So watch. 1, right? 2, 3. One, two, three. You see how they're not perpendicular. So the next three, 1, 2, 3, I try to do them perpendicular. This one is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the ones to the side that come out of the paper is 1, 2, up, and maybe 3. I'm going to do another stick, so this is not hanging by itself. It looks weird. So let me show you. These 3 ones coming out of the paper looks a little strange. So I'm going to do another stick here to ground it. Great. So doesn't look great with the shininess that I've been telling you about my lamp here, but watch when I lift the paper to show you that and put it in perspective and focus. It's going to focus in a second. There you go. So you see how it's just, when you really look at it, it's just sticks or lines, but they're not symmetrical, meaning they're not lining up. They follow a pattern, and the pattern is this. The pattern is, which I need to emphasize some of these sticks, is that some of them go up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them go up, you see. And then there's 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that go across them, but not evenly. So I need to emphasize this thickness. Yeah, so just because they are like that, like random, it adds a little bit to the drawing night theme that we just did. And we're closing up now. Okay, this is the end of the project. I'm gonna do some birds, bats, which are actually the birds we always learn to do, but I'm gonna make them thicker. So maybe by making them thicker, they'll look more like bats. But let's see where we could put them. I'm gonna put maybe 5 or 3 of them, maybe 5. And the key here, when you do these birds, is to make them different sizes again. So just like the trees that are different sizes. In the birds, the size means that some of them are closer and some of them are farther away. So they're all the same size in reality, right? More or less. But when we look at them flying, if it's smaller, it's because it's farther away. If it's closer, it will be bigger. So it's the letter M spread like this, you see, like a letter M that is spread. But remember I said I was going to make them thicker to make them maybe look a little more bat-like. But if I did that one, you see, I'm going to do another one, but smaller. And do some that come across the moon. So this one is going to be smaller. We're finishing up. So 1, 2, I said about 5. A third one here, medium size. Maybe I'll do a dot, almost a dot here. That's how small it is. Look how, that's just, see how that's just a little thing. That's how small I made it. Look at them closer. So I got 4 so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the 5th, which is a good number, could be around here. You could do 7. Let's do 7. So we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 7 will be maybe here. But I wanted some of them to be across the moon because then they're more defined. Okay, that's it. I did 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a little dot there. And that's our drawing. I'm going to sign it on this other side. Have more space, very small. When you sign, don't make your signature be too emphasized. But that's the year. maybe the month. That's my last name, 10 2022, and we're done. I'm going to show you closer. Again, this is a video. You could go back to it. You could share it. You could pause it. I'm going to show you here the entire drawing, holding it. And I'm going to bring it up. There you go. Now it's on focus. And I'm tilting it a little to the side towards my left because I don't want that shininess of the graphite, remember? And something we could do is a little bit of the shadow on the fence. I forgot. Look, the fence should cast a shadow too, a little bit, just a little. There you go. Okay. And maybe the darkness here of the trail gets spread down here. Okay. But this is the drawing, and I'm gonna get closer, focus on certain parts so you can see them. Oh no, it's not on focus. It is on focus there. Now it is. So now it is the entire thing on focus. You see? Just look at the mountains, the trail, the trees, different. The key with the trees, again, you need to make the trees different tones. They cannot all be the same darkness. Some have to be darker. Some of them have to be lighter. Look how light this one back here is. You can barely see it, but it creates an effect of distance. Okay, and now look at it on close-up. The bats, my signature with the trees. That's a good one. That's a good shot right there. Okay, and yeah, and then next time I'll see you in person. Bring your results so we could all share and see. Like always, we all appreciate you sharing. We all learn from each other, right? And see the different interpretations. Um, there you go. Um, thank you. Have a great day and rest of the week.